Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Brown University, I am pleased to welcome you to our 2022 Veterans Day ceremony. My name is Brian Brady, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies. I am a member of the class of 2023, concentrating in German Studies and History. I am also a proud veteran of the United States Army, where I served as an infantryman in the 10th Mountain Division and 101st Airborne Division. At this time, please rise and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem performed by Brown University's own The Chatter Talks, followed by the invocation by Brown University chaplain Reverend Janet Cooper Nelson.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were glad, the balls bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. We who gather, O God, to honor all of these, whose lives are given in the service of this beloved nation, circles of those lost in combat and missed from our families, circles of those who have served and come home and bear the knowledge and the scars of such service, those who serve and those who prepare to serve. All of these, given in the service of the protection of this beloved nation, we ask of you careful hearts, attentive minds, compassionate memory. Help us to be truly grateful for each life whose loyalty to the best purposes of our country is an example for us all. Take to our hearts the paths that each of these, our neighbors, our friends, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, those lost already and those beside us still. May we see how they walked to accomplish this service for us and for this grateful nation, and on this day that honors veterans, pledge ourselves to be veterans of the highest purposes of our nation's calling. In each circle of love where a place stands empty because of the death of those whose sacrifice was the greatest, we seek to convey special honor. May we, in care and sincerity, express not only our appreciation, but our continuing concern for this priceless gift. Remember each of these, O God, and cause us to honor them with memory, engagement, and respect. Rededicate our nation and this university to the founding principles of liberty, human dignity, equality, and justice, that we may welcome all who seek to live peacefully, that we may educate all who seek to understand deeply, that we may commit ourselves together to the many purposes that create safety and security and peace to undergird these shining ideals. Receive our thanks for all who serve, especially for our dear Brunonians and our sisters and brothers in Rhode Island and here across the nation, who give and gave their lives for this nation. May their service and the honor we confer and the grief of their family and loved ones be dear to you today, and ever true, may we be dear to them. So help us God. Amen. Please be seated.
Thank you. Now we will proceed with the swearing in of the new ROTC cadets. Leading off, I would like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Knieb, Commanding Officer of the Providence College ROTC Detachment. Colonel?
Senator Reed, President Paxson, distinguished guests, veterans and friends, thank you for attending today's ceremony. The cadets you see to my left have chosen to answer their nation's call, like American veterans who have done so for over 247 years. They stand with the 13 other Brown Army ROTC undergraduates who understand and demonstrate selfless service. A cohort that I might add continues to grow with every freshman class at Brown University. In an increasingly hostile and contentious world, the young men and women you see in front of you today have said yes to protecting the freedoms and values that we as Americans hold so dearly. Yes to sacrificing their safety and security for you and I, and yes to ensuring that the United States remains the home of the brave and free. I am both humbled and honored to serve the cadets in front of you today. Their sense of duty, integrity, selfless service, and personal courage is exactly what our country needs at this moment in history. Today's oath is a proclamation of that commitment and will remain with them until their graduation from Brown University, when they will commission as officers in the United States Army, charged with not just supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States, but also leading others who choose to do the same. And so, without further ado, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over me according to regulation and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations. Cadets, left face. I would like to welcome now Lieutenant Colonel Craig Cood, who will be conducting the contracting ceremony for our newest Air Force ROTC cadets. Lieutenant Colonel Cood is the commanding officer of the Air Force ROTC Detachment 340 and professor of aerospace studies at WPI. Please help me in welcoming Lieutenant Colonel Cood.
Thanks, Colonel Need. Good afternoon, Senator Reed, Undersecretary Cisneros, President Paxson, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, cadets. For over 50 years, leadership in the Air Force has been deprived of the kind of talent that Brown can provide. I'm excited to share with you that positive change is in the air. Our nation now has 15 Brown University students enrolled in Air Force ROTC. In the spring, we will commission our first Brown graduates in over 53 years. We will also commission the first female Air Force officer to graduate from Brown in ROTC history. What does this mean? It means that we are graduating future leaders who are brilliant, humane, empathetic, and who embrace critical and creative thinking. Leaders who will be better than those who they replace. And by supporting its ROTC students, Brown will spread its values and improve our military's diversity of thought. A military should reflect the culture and citizenry it defends, and we're continually working on that. Let's bring those cadets up here. These young men and women that you see here today represent a small, albeit valuable, slice of that citizenry. They are sons and daughters of America. They are our nation's national treasure. And today they commit to something greater than themselves. When I say repeat after me and they state their name, it will sound like a mess. A bunch of voices saying their names at the same time, all proud of who they are. By the end of the oath, you are one voice, all proud of what you share. The oath is our bond. We solemnly swear that we will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We do not swear allegiance to any single person. Remember that. Instead, you swear to defend the document that spells out America's core values and the promise of a more perfect union. In that spirit, today I charge you with the sacred duty of preserving our nonpartisan military and to do better than those who came before you. Going forward, this is now your Air Force. Aim high. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations. I would now like to welcome Captain Marv Carlin, Commanding Officer of Navy ROTC at the College of the Holy Cross. Captain Carlin will be conducting a recognition ceremony to honor a special Brown alumnus. Please join me in welcoming Captain Marv Carlin.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests. My name is, as stated, Captain Marv Carlin. I'm the commanding officer for the Holy Cross Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps Unit, which is a consortium that includes midshipmen from Brown University. Historically, during this event, all branches swear in newly contracted ROTC cadets and midshipmen. This is an important ceremony that signifies the start of these young men and women's journeys as leaders in the armed forces. Unfortunately, this year, the Navy ROTC does not have any new freshmen to swear in. However, I did want to take this opportunity to acknowledge a loss to our community that came to our awareness. The Brown University military community and Navy ROTC program suffered a significant loss on Saturday, October 29th, with the passing of Joseph Howard Santorlaski Jr. Joseph graduated from Brown in 1967, and while at Brown, Joe participated in ROTC, which earned him a commission as an ensign in the Navy. During this time in service, Joe completed 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, was awarded the Vietnamese Medal of Honor, and was the duty officer during the recovery of Apollo 11 astronauts when they splashed down in the Pacific. While Lieutenant Santorlaski's military and professional accomplishments are noteworthy, he also had a profound impact on the Brown University military-affiliated community. Joe was a co-founding member of the Brown University Veterans Alumni Council, which has been crucial in the success of the Veterans Initiative and veteran student success. As a part of the special request of Brown University's Office of Military Affiliated Students, the Holy Cross Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps unit would like to honor Joe with a 7-bell toll. The 7 tolls represent the many stages in a veteran's life, with each toll having a specific meaning. Toll 1, the choice to serve. This toll represents the veterans' willingness to sacrifice their life for their country, a dedication to which few are called. Toll 2, camaraderie. The second toll represents the friendships, family, and unity that bond all service members together. Toll 3, patriotism. The third toll represents the veterans' pride in their community, a duty to protect it, and the joy in celebrating the freedoms enshrined in our Constitution. Toll 4, respect. The fourth toll represents the respect given to a veteran by their community, earned by them and owed by us for their service. Toll 5, dignity. The fifth toll represents the dignity with which a veteran's community treats their fallen hero. Toll 6, honor. The sixth toll represents the honor that is due to a veteran when they have died, given by their fellow service members and community. Toll 7, the value of life. The seventh toll represents the ultimate sacrifice that the veteran has made, whether killed in action or after long years of quiet service. The value of a veteran cannot be adequately described by words alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Carlin. At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing Brown University's 19th president, Christina Paxson. President Paxson is a noted economist and public health expert and has served as Brown University's president and a professor of economics and public policy since July 1st, 2012. She has led Brown in the development of a strategic plan that has positioned the university to elevate academics, develop the physical campus to support a world-class education, and support the students, faculty, and staff who live and work at Brown. She is a strong supporter of military-affiliated students and student veterans. Please join me in welcoming President Paxson.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today as we commemorate Veterans Day and we honor the service of veterans affiliated with Brown University. I want to just begin by recognizing Gil Cisneros, Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. He is a veteran. He is a Brown graduate, Master's in Urban Education Policy. I am so honored that he joined us today, so thank you for coming. I also want to recognize U.S. Senator Jack Reed. Senator Reed, as most of you know, is a veteran himself, comes from a family of veterans. He has a deeply held belief in the value of military service, and we're fortunate to have him here today too. The campus where we stand and sit right now is one that is rich with military significance. We don't talk about it every day, but it's good to know. French and American troops were quartered here during the American Revolution. And it was actually here from the top of this hill that British troops were sighted in Narragansett Bay as they occupied Newport. Since the time of Brown's founding in 1764, brave young men at first, followed by brave young women, received both military and academic training before going out into the world to serve their country. In the Civil War, Brown students formed regiments and they served bravely. Some of their relics are actually held in the John Hay Library, including a letter from an alumnus on the front lines who renamed his tent Hope College because there were so many Brown students who were there serving alongside him. In World War I, The campus was transformed literally into a military camp with strict curfews and training exercises on the ground where we speak, this field right here. I would add this was a period that also overlapped with the last pandemic to hit the United States, so it was an interesting time. In World War II, the same patriotism prevailed. Within 5 months of their graduation, 71% of the Brown class of 1942 was enrolled in the armed services, and another 20% was doing work linked to the war effort. And Brown graduates during that war, they served in every major theater, from Patton's campaign in North Africa to the islands in the Pacific to the skies over Germany. 2 Brown alumni were killed on D-Day. Brown alumni also served honorably through 4 decades of a difficult Cold War and a challenging aftermath in Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan. And they were motivated by the ideal of service to a nation. That ideal of service is still very much with us today. And, you know, I have to say we are so proud of all that our student veterans, our Brown University veterans have achieved and continue to achieve, and the incredible strength that they possess. This is why we have worked so hard to bring more student veterans and more students who are entering military service to Brown. So as many of you know, several years ago, we committed to admitting veterans to our undergraduate program regardless of financial need, so we became need blind. And we committed to providing them with the scholarships to really make their education here possible. And we also made a commitment to greatly expand the number of student veterans on campus. So today I'm proud to say that we have 79 student veterans. That includes undergraduate, graduate, and medical school students here on campus, 41 of whom are undergraduates. So that's a big change from what you may have seen 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. And we have 39 ROTC cadets who will go on to serve our country. So a great, great growth. Thank you. Our student veterans, and I am so proud of them, our student veterans and our ROTC students, they bring an incredible diversity of experience and perspective to the university. So they strengthen the education of everyone who is here on College Hill. And while they do bring diverse views and experiences, they all have one thing in common, and we've heard some of it already today, which is they have or make a pledge to, quote, support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That pledge is as important today as it was hundreds of years ago. So on behalf of everyone who works and studies at Brown, let me thank our veterans for the work they've done, too often thanklessly, to make sure that our lives are possible in the way that we want them to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Paxson. Our next distinguished guest is a senior senator from the state of Rhode Island. Senator Jack Reed graduated from West Point and was subsequently commissioned as an officer in the United States Army in 1971. He served in the 82nd Airborne Division as an infantry platoon leader, a company commander, and a battalion staff officer. He then returned to West Point as a Department of Social Sciences associate professor, where he taught economics and international relations. Over the course of his military career, he earned the Army Commendation Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, Ranger Tab, Senior Parachutist Badge, and the highly coveted Expert Infantryman's Badge. After leaving the Army, Senator Reed continued his commitment to public service, serving in the Rhode Island Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, and currently serves as the senior U.S. Senator from the state of Rhode Island. Senator Reed is notably the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, where he continues to champion veteran issues in Congress. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Senator Jack Reed.
Thank you, Brian, for that very kind introduction, but just as importantly, for your distinguished service as a member of the 101st Airborne and the 10th Mountain Division. Thank you, sir. President Paxton, thank you for your tremendous leadership of this university in so many different ways. And we're all delighted to have with us Undersecretary of Defense Gil Cisneros, a Brown alumnus. And we're also proud to recognize another distinguished Brown alumnus, Congressman David Cicilline. David, please. David is a staunch advocate for veterans and for those who serve the nation, and I thank him for that. Also, let me recognize Mac Manning. He's the Director of Office of Military Affiliated Students and the Reserve Officers Training Corps Commanders. They were here before us. Captain Carlin, thank you, sir. Lieutenant Colonel Krug and Lieutenant Colonel Neeb, thank you very much for your service and dedication. Let me also finally recognize Taryn Wise, who will be our student veteran speaker. Again, it's an honor to be with fellow veterans today to celebrate Veterans Day. I can recall being at what I believe is the first of these ceremonies a long time ago. There were not so many people here. It was rather confined to just a few. But what's happened under the leadership of President Paxson and others is they have made a real commitment to veterans, to enrolling them in Brown University, to supporting them in Brown University, and they've made a commitment also to the ROTC program, which is so critical, because as has been mentioned by my uniformed comrades, it is critical to have a military that reflects America, all America, that is prepared to carry out the sacred duty, as was mentioned before by President Paxson, to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Unlike other places, we do not swear allegiance to a personality. We swear allegiance to our Constitution, to the values it embodies, of justice, of tolerance, of opportunity. Those are what generations of Americans have fought for and died for. We honor their memory today. We thank them for their service, for their sacrifice, and we also recognize that to truly recognize them is not in words, but in deeds. In completing and assuming the task they had of building a better America, of building a more peaceful world. And also we recognize our obligation to our veterans to ensure they have the support and the care that they need going forward. And finally, no one serves alone. We also have a debt and obligation to the families of those who serve, and we have to remember them and honor them and thank them. On this moment where we pay homage to those who have served, let us dedicate ourselves to continuing their service. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reed. Our next distinguished speaker is the Undersecretary of Defense, Gil Cisneros. Secretary Cisneros is a former naval officer and a third-generation veteran in his family. As the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, he is the Secretary of Defense's principal advisor for force readiness, force management, health affairs, National Guard and Reserve affairs, and military and civilian personnel requirements and management. He was also appointed by the Secretary of Defense as the department's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Prior to his current appointment, he represented California's 39th district in the U.S. House of Representatives. Secretary Cisneros is passionate about education, diversity, and inclusion, and providing opportunities for our youth. He and his wife Jackie established the Gilbert and Jackie Cisneros Foundation in 2010 to help students find a path to higher education with scholarships and access programs. In 2015, he also founded the Cisneros Hispanic Leadership Institute at his undergraduate alma mater, the George Washington University. which provides scholarships for Latino students and is becoming a leading institute for policy issues affecting the Latino community. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Cisneros.
Senator Reed, Representative Cicilline, President Paxson, members of the Brown University Veterans Alumni Council, and distinguished guests. Thank you for inviting me to come back to Brown University for this special occasion on Veterans Day. In 2014, I came to Brown to get a master's degree in urban education policy. I remember a veterans function that they had on campus that I was invited to. There were about 5 of us in attendance, and I believe there was only one ROTC cadet at the time. Today, Brown's ROTC program has expanded to, I think, just under 40 students. Its veterans community boost, almost 80 on campus. That's a huge jump from when I attended, and it says a lot about Brown's efforts to highlight service to the nation and its support to our veterans. I'm very passionate about our veterans because I understand military service from several different lenses. Both my grandfather served in World War II, my father and uncle served in Vietnam, so I had a very early appreciation of what it meant to serve in our military and the pride and satisfaction our veterans have. I'm also a Navy veteran. 5 days after high school, I left for boot camp, but I was fortunate enough to meet a chief petty officer who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at that time. He suggested that I apply for a Navy program that was trying to increase the diversity of the Navy. After successfully completing that program, I received a Navy ROTC scholarship, and as they say, the rest is history. The common thread among the 3 generations in my family is our commitment to serve our nation, a calling to serve for a greater purpose. While every service member and veteran will have a unique story, service to nation is the common thread that binds us all. So thank you again, everyone here, for supporting our men and women in the military and our veterans. They have protected and defended our nation with commitment and without fanfare. Your support honors them for their dedication. Since we're talking about our service members and our veterans, let me take a moment to talk about the department's talent management life cycle that connects one end to the other. First, we have to make sure we recruit and retain the people we need to support our nation's defense strategy. Next, we have to ensure we are taking care of our people and their families. This includes such things as developing a diverse and resilient culture, providing educational and training opportunities for advancement, and ensuring our military families have the support they require. Lastly, we have to prepare our force for the transition and ensure our service members are prepared for life after the military. It is part of this full circle in our talent management process because we take care of our people and prepare them for the next stage in their lives. They become ambassadors for the military in their communities, which in turn helps us recruit our next generation of warfighters. Let me begin with recruitment. We have looked at data that indicates that Generation Z is primarily driven by purpose, relationship, and a clear path to success. The military offers all of these, but many times these individuals just don't know it. Changing the dynamic and getting the word out requires involvement from national leaders, veterans, teachers, coaches, parents, grandparents, and other influencers, including the folks that are here today. Your support and influence sends a powerful message on the merits of serving in our military. Our next generations of Americans should know that there has never been a better time to choose military service. They can find personal fulfillment serving in every part of the world and develop skills that truly makes a difference. We need individuals who could think outside the box, have the cognitive capacity to conceive, design, and implement strategies and campaigns that integrate our global capabilities in battle spaces and domains we haven't even conceived or imagined yet. So right now, the type of candidates we are looking for to serve in our military are diverse, innovative, and digitally fluent. It's a generation that could operate an iPhone often before they even started elementary school. Getting the word out is key, and we are working hard on this front. Our efforts include getting our recruiters back into the schools after being out due to the pandemic for the past couple of years. For many young people who do not have a connection to the military, our recruiters are that connection. We are also initiating targeted marketing and advertising to ensure our messages are uniquely tailored to diverse audiences with multifaceted interests in developing programs and initiatives that highlight the many avenues a career in the military offers. Our veterans can also help us tremendously in getting the word out to the communities that they live in and where they work. They can let our current youth know about their experiences and the pride and satisfaction that it's brought to them. And of course, we are working with private sectors and academic institutional partners that send a positive message on our incredible collaboration and on the many benefits of serving in the military. Within the recruiting context, let me offer a few thoughts on diversity and inclusion and why it's so critical. We hear the words diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility everywhere. Nearly every corporation and academic institution, including Brown, has a statement on DEIA, and I'm pretty certain every federal agency in the department has one too. Why is diversity and inclusion a strategic imperative for the Department of Defense? There are several reasons, but let me talk about a few areas where diversity is the core. First, diversity can bring about innovation. People who are different from one another in race, gender, and other aspects bring unique information and experiences to the mission. Of course, we can't just be diverse. We have to ensure there is a culture and environment where leaders allow a diverse group to all be included in the process. So it's about both diversity and inclusion. In order to recruit top innovative talent that resides in every diversity category, we need to improve our ability to appeal to every segment of society and the expectations that are unique to this generation. We have to cast the widest net possible, race, gender, urban, and rural, you name it. Just as important, we are making sure our recruiting efforts are targeting all areas of society. We have to make sure we give them a reason to stay. Compensation and benefits are part of it, but we also have to make sure there's equity in career advancement, opportunities for training and education, and ensure DoD's leadership is more reflective of those who lead. So our retention and recruitment process is obviously a huge part of building a diverse and inclusive force, and building a diverse and inclusive force directly impacts how innovative we can be as a department. Another reason why diversity is a strategic imperative is about aligning mission and activities with those of our allies and partners. Our security environment is global in every way. I'm of the mindset that persuasion is as powerful as a weapon as our arsenal, and building coalitions through human interaction should be at the forefront of our efforts. We need a diverse force that understands different cultures, backgrounds, languages, and regional politics around the world. And it's not only about diversity of human beings, but also about diversity of thought. In order to develop a diverse total force that is inclusive of different ideas and cultures, we need to promote and execute training and educational programs that help us build and strengthen partnerships and alliances. It's about equipping our service members not only in the art of science of warfighting, but also train and educate them on diverse languages, cultures, economics, and politics to gain the trust of allies and partners. By building relationships this way, ones that are diverse and cover the full spectrum of human interactions, we build the strongest and most enduring alliances and partnerships. Let me also mention something about resiliency. We can only have a ready force if our force is resilient. To this end, we have to ensure a culture of dignity and respect and prevent coercive and criminal behavior such as sexual assault and sexual harassment. We also need to make sure everyone in the department is on the front lines to prevent tragedies such as suicide that decimate lives and families. The department is absolutely committed to these preservation efforts. As I said at the beginning, the life cycle of talent management process touches from end to end. We know that our commitment to our service members doesn't end with their service. We are committed to expanding and improving our transition programs. Programs such as the Department's Transition Assistance Program continue to provide valuable information and training to ensure transitioning service members are prepared for their next steps in life, whether pursuing additional education, finding a job in the public and private sector, or starting their own business. Programs such as Skill Bridge, which afford service members the opportunity to gain valuable civilian work experience through specific industry training, apprenticeships, or internships during the last 80 days of service, has become a powerful and successful program. How people leave military service is so important because they will continue to be the ambassadors for our next generations of recruits. So thanks again for inviting me to speak today. It's an honor to come back to Brown and see all the wonderful things that are going on. Your support for our veterans and service members makes all the difference in the world. To our ROTC candidates, thank you for your willingness to serve our great country. I wish you the best in both your academic and military careers. And to my fellow veterans, thank you for your service. Your dedication and patriotism to our nation will always be held in the highest esteem. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Cisneros. We would like to conclude the speaking portion of today's program with student veteran Taryn Wise. Taryn served for over 8 years in the U.S. Navy as a submarine nuclear machinist mate. During that time, he had the opportunity to serve on the USS Wyoming, the USS Tennessee, and the USS West Virginia. A transfer from Northern Virginia Community College, Taryn is now focusing his studies on engineering and physics here at Brown. Please join me in welcoming Taryn Wise.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Brady. President Paxson, Senator Reed, Undersecretary Cisneros, thank you for speaking today. I would also like to give special thanks to Provost Richard Locke, Vice President Eric Estes, and the Brown University Veterans Alumni Council for their continued support of this event. And I would like to give a special thanks to Mac Manning, the Director of OMAS. Without him, I literally would not be talking in front of you guys here today, so thank you. Esteemed guests, alumni, faculty, staff, and student body here at Brown, we stand here on Veterans Day. And I wanted to share my perspective on veteran resiliency from my time in the military to standing before you today. Veterans Day is a day of remembrance for those who have served in the past, present, and future armed forces. It is a time to recognize those who put their lives on the line for their country. But it's also a time to recognize the unique challenges military members face even after they put their uniforms up for the last time. Going from operating a nuclear reactor on a submarine one day to going back to school and starting fresh the next day comes with its own obstacles, trust me. While some of us have fought wars in the air, on land, or even under the sea, we all continue to face our own battles and continue to stand in the face of adversity every day. Remembrance is an act that influences the present and helps build the future. Those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it, states American philosopher George Santayana. We must not forget our past failures and successes, for they are the very substance of our identity. Veterans Day is a reminder of that. According to the Veterans Authority, a veteran is a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service. But since becoming a veteran, I have developed my own addendum to this definition. See, to me, a veteran is one who puts their life on the line to defend the values they stand for. Someone who dares to gain wisdom to fight ignorance and intolerance. But most importantly, a veteran is someone who stands up in the face of adversity, no matter how unsurpassable it may seem. When the adversity I was faced with seemed too big to overcome, my mother used to ask me, Taryn, how do you eat an elephant? So today I ask, how do you eat an elephant? I would like to share my story with you of my failures and how those failures led to the beginning of my success here at Brown. So, to start, in 2011, I faced my first battle on my own without the safety net of my mom. I started to study at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, but I ended up failing that following year. In 2014, I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina as a part of the Naval Nuclear Power Training School. I studied every single day to try to understand subjects like nuclear design, reactor dynamics, and radiological controls. But yet, I still failed my first nuclear chemistry exam. In 2017, I was deployed for over 9 months of the year. I missed weddings, birthdays, and holidays. Every holiday, just to make sure you guys are clear. And I couldn't communicate with others while deployed and felt like I failed my family and loved ones. Fresh out of the Navy in 2021, I applied to over 11 different universities, to include Brown, in hopes to pursue my academic ambitions. But I failed to get into any of those. So I ask, how do you eat an elephant? Failing out of the University of Minnesota taught me to own my failures and to work on my shortcomings. This ingrained in me the value and importance of hard work and discipline, which eventually led to my selection for the prestigious Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program. Failing my nuclear chemistry exam taught me that you really cannot trust an atom, because they really do make up everything, which is a nuke joke for the people who aren't in STEM. Just want to make sure that you're aware. So after this failure, I studied even harder and successfully gained specialty in nuclear chemistry and radiological controls. Failing to be there for my family and loved ones taught me the value of relationships. The time you share with those you love really can never be replaced. Failing to be admitted to any of the 11 universities when I first left the Navy taught me that true success does not come without adversity. Yet, these rejections allowed me to explore and develop my own interests, leading me to later pursue a summer research opportunity at Yale in which I explored the field of quantum optomechanics. Brown student veterans have a long history of succeeding in incredible spaces across a variety of industries. With the tools and opportunities that Brown has given us, we have consultants, engineers, and historians, among others. The student veteran community at Brown has traded the fields of land, air, and sea for the fields of STEM, economics, and even history. They dare to fail, they dare to succeed, and they dare to know. And with the support of the Brown community, we no longer have to face these adversities alone. So again, I ask, how do you eat an elephant? Well, I'm proud to say that this fall, I was accepted to multiple universities, and this September, I officially began my journey here at my dream school, despite and maybe thanks to all the failures that I've incurred. Today, we acknowledge all veterans. We acknowledge the courage of veterans on the battlefield. We acknowledge the courage of veterans in the classroom. And we acknowledge the courage of veterans facing adversity in their own lives. So when you feel like you don't have enough courage, when the adversity you are faced with is just too much, remember that you can eat an elephant. You just have to take it one bite at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. At this time, the closing benediction will be delivered by the Associate Chaplain for the University for the Protestant Community, Reverend Delphin de Mesdenez.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Greater love has no one than this, that anyone may lay down their life in service for their country and their friends. Join me in prayer. Almighty God, our veterans and their families have unselfishly given so much to preserve our freedoms and our safety. May you bless them far beyond all their expectation. May you reward them richly for all the hardships they have endured. Loving God, may you bring them peace, love, joy, prosperity, and longevity to all of our veterans and their families. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. At this time, I ask that you please stand for the retiring of the colors. That concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of the Brown University student veteran community and the Office of Military Affiliated Students, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for attending our Veterans Day ceremony. Please join us for a reception at the large tent. Thank you, and happy Veterans Day.